Welcome in, everybody, to another episode of ZB's Horsepower Talk. As always, I'm ZB, Zack Brown, and joining with me, as always, former 410 sprint car crew chief and mechanic, my dad, Jeff Brown. Dad, we're going to be previewing a little bit of the races coming up this week at Daytona. Not the 500 yet, because we're doing the live show on Sunday. We also have to go over some of the crazy action in Volusia. Already a great start for sprint car racing. High Limit is, as we're recording right now, finishing up their second race of the day, and we'll go over the first race a little bit there at East Bay. Going over our top 5 NASCAR announcers, and giving our picks for the Trucks and Xfinity race. So a lot to go over already, and kickstarting the real racing season now.
Yep, Speedweek, I guess, is finally here. Unfortunately, it's not quite the same as it used to be. You know, it used to be pretty much the whole month of February. Everybody got real excited for Daytona. And some of the stuff, like when you had your interview with Steve Post, he commented about people not showing up, and some of that's NASCAR's fault. You used to be able to go in for Speed Weeks, they'd have practice, you could go in for free into the stands, didn't cost nothing. Now every time you want to go to Daytona, it's $20 to park.
You gotta pay everything.
$30 to go in, and that's what hurt the Clash. People are not going to spend $75 for a seat to go watch a 20-lap race. It just isn't going to happen anymore.
Yeah, and it's from what Steve was saying, and you've seen it too, that NASCAR seems to be, it's getting better and better. And I've seen it in person at Charlotte. There's more and more people that are showing up to the races as they're spreading the word. It's just the fact that people really can't afford to go to these races, and historically, what's the audience that comes to the races? Some blue collar people that, they don't have a lot of money to spend. They just want to spend $20 at most, go to see a race real quick. And you see that with everything right now, and you see it with dirt racing. Shoot, you go to an outlaw race, you can't go to a 2-night outlaw race. That's going to be over $100 that you spend.
Yeah, and even we were just looking for spring training baseball down in Lakeland. I thought, you could probably go in there for $10. It's $35 a ticket for a spring training game.
Absolutely insane.
It's practice. Come on.
Yeah, it's going to be a little bit of everything. Unfortunately, that's going to be how it goes. I think people have now, accepted it. Unfortunately, that stuff's going to just be more expensive, and that's including NASCAR. But I think most of the races are going to be pretty packed. As well, I don't think they sell out. They won't sell at Trucks or Xfinity, but they'll sell as many tickets as they possibly can for them. And obviously, Daytona 500, once again, it's sold out. The energy's going to be there. They qualify Wednesday, so whenever you're watching this, I don't know if they've already qualified or not. But to get the front row Daytona 500 is a very big honor. Hendrick Motorsports is trying to go for it once again, I think 4th, 5th or something year in a row. It's insane how many years in a row they've gotten now. Yeah,
I think, Alex Bowman's been on the front row the last 4 or 5 years, something like that.
Yep, and they're all going to be up there. They seem to always have a knack for the qualifying, and something always seems to happen with the Hendrick cars. They usually get caught up in something, specifically Larson, because that's his luck. No matter where he's running, he can run first, he can run mid-pack. He seems to just get the wrecks find him. And, and Kyle Busch, too. He finds a wreck in Daytona 500. His luck is kind of like Dale Earnhardt's was in the 500, so we'll see what he can do for that. But, yeah, so let's dive into Volusia recap. 4 nights at Volusia, and every single race was very, very good. The track was phenomenal, looked great. Crowds were really good, especially Friday and Saturday night. And it wasn't the same drivers that were up. It was diverse racers that were throughout the entire week, and it wasn't the same person whipping everybody every night. I think it's going to be a great year in Outlaws, and I think this is a precursor for a phenomenal year.
Yeah, like you said, racing was great, and you still see it on the comments, but they won off the front row. Yeah, they might have won off the front row, but it was not easy by any means.
No.
They were side by side battling the whole way back through, and like I said, it started last year, and I don't know what made the racing so much better, whether it's the new Hoosier tire or just everybody's equipment is just so equal anymore, but the racing has been great. It's still important to start up front, but if you start in the first 6-8 spots, you got a legitimate shot at winning an outlaw race, which is unheard of. It used to be top 4 maybe.
Yeah. Yeah, and you're just I think it's a testament to a little bit of everything, and the Outlaws making the right rules package changes, and they're finding stuff that works. You see the criticism like NASCAR has with some rule packages, and it makes the racing boring. And luckily, the Outlaws hit on this rule package, because they could have just went completely terrible, and these tires were the absolute worst thing and made the racing very stale. But I think it's a little bit of the tire, a little bit of the rules changes they've done, and a lot on the drivers and how organized and how well run they've been all year.
And and some of it I think is track prep has been much better. The tracks have been very very wide. Yeah, they may be slowing down, but I still think a little bit slower puts on a better race where you're going to get those guys side by side. Volusia had a top, it had a bottom. It's you can't ask for much more than that.
And how about that kid? I can't remember his name, but 16-year-old, the youngest pole winner ever in World of Outlaws history. So that is absolutely crazy that it's taken that long. And you would have thought maybe back in the day they would have had a 14-year-old or something set the pole and all that, but in the fast time. But yeah, that was really cool to see. The kid just turned 16, and he didn't race too great. It goes with experience. He doesn't really understand certain lines, how the restarts work exactly. All these guys have been racing for a while, and the worst thing that happened to him was these restarts and the starts, and he just kept falling back because he was racing great. That was just killing him the whole time.
Yeah, these outlaw guys don't play around. They're professional racers. This kid's a sophomore, junior in high school.
Yeah, and he stayed out of their way though. That was a big thing. He knows he's not competing the full year. He knows that he doesn't want to make enemies. He's trying to learn. So I think it was a great learning experience for him.
He's got a bright future ahead of him, and hopefully he can stay paired with having, I don't know if it's a family car or whatnot, but I think it's important for him. He gets a good car, a good mechanic. It just takes a little bit of time to learn.
Yeah,
I think he'll be fine. He's got the talent.
Yeah. So let's go over night one. The defending champion, who's not racing for the championship this year, Brad Sweet, gets the win. So that obviously made David Gravel happy. But David Gravel made up for it the next day. He gets the win on the second night. But the top three in every single night, completely different. Then you go into night three. Sunshine gets the win. And that was kind of that was a big upset with.
Yeah, that was the high limit guys actually had a very good race weekend there.
They did, and hats off to Macri too, who's very competitive the whole weekend. He was actually competitive in that first high limit race too, and obviously Sheldon gets the win on which I think was the best race of the entire weekend.
Corner pass for the win. That was exciting.
That was fantastic, and you kind of mentioned it before that Sheldon could be a dark horse to make some noise for the championship this year too. And I felt really good when I said Gio. Gio had pretty consistent runs all 4 nights too. So I think that's going to be, like I said before, that's a driver to look out for.
The one driver I thought actually had a very disappointing weekend was Carson Macedo.
Yes.
It's like you didn't see him anywhere the whole weekend. I think he got into a crash the one night or whatever, but he really was nowhere to be found. Logan Schuchart really wasn't going very well.
And it's the first week, so obviously you take this and you're going to learn from it and get it back ready to go here in a couple weeks when they start back up again in March. But great week of racing to kick off the dirt racing year. They got lucky somehow, got all 4 races, and that never happens with Mother Nature. So especially in Florida. So that was
they actually had the perfect week.
Like I said, the track looked great every single night when I was tuning into it. So hats off to the track crew and everybody. The High Limit Series, we forgot to preview that, but it's not surprising that the first race winner was Kyle Larson. And again, like I said, as we're talking right now, they are racing the second race. They raced back-to-back because the first night rained out, so they delayed it till the Tuesday. And yeah, who'd have thought Kyle Larson would have got the win? He just races so aggressively through lap traffic. It was very impressive. There was a chance that Tanner Thorson or Cole Macedo would have been up there, but
top three, and even Macri came from 8th to 4th.
Yes.
And if Larson wasn't as ballsy through the lap cars, he would not have won that race.
Yeah.
He was just abusing those guys compared to the other. Like, he never thought twice about it. If he had to go between them, he was going between them. Didn't even hesitate for a second.
Yeah. So I'm curious to see how he does for the second race and how to kind of go about that. Now, if you were setting up this car and you had to, I don't know how many you've done, had to race back-to-back races with a feature and then go back into an entire race schedule, how would you approach that? Say if you're in Larson's shoes and you just won that race, how do you go about getting ready for this second night?
Well, first thing you got to realize with Larson, you won the race, but you probably were not the fastest car. You just had the best driver. And that track was super, super slick. I mean, it was zero hookups. So you got to really see what they're going to do. Are they going to dig the track up? Are they going to rewater it? If not, is the track going to get rubber? So you're going to have to change your setup depending on what they're going to do. It's most likely not going to be anything like what they just ran on. So it's either going to dig it up and make it wet, which then they're going to be pushing for the time limit, or they're going to leave it hard. It's probably going to start laying some rubber down. So the first one to find rubber is probably going to win that thing, and then it's probably going to be a snooze fest. Once it starts doing that, then it's usually a one-lane track.
Well, Larson mentioned it in his Victory Lane post-race interview that the track was laying some rubber. So we'll go back and look at it, and we'll talk about it on Sunday during the live show, what we kind of saw, the differences between the two races. And High Limit, again, they'll race next week, and they are off until April. So they've got 2 weeks, and then they'll be off in April. So that'll be a break for us to not cover every single thing in March. So we kind of can slowly, gradually get into everything going there. I think that's all the recaps we really got. We're looking ahead to Daytona. Before we get into that, we want to obviously talk about our top 5 this week. We have the top 5 NASCAR announcers, in our opinion, of all time. And I think both of us are going to have the same number 1. I've got some interesting people on here. Some may have not have been in NASCAR for so long, and I'm kind of thinking like they should still be, and they're just really good announcers. So I'll go first this week, and then you can do next week's, which we haven't figured out yet, but we'll announce that on Sunday during the live show. But at number 5 for the 5 best NASCAR announcers of all time, I've got a guy that he's appeared on multiple NASCAR Heat games, Dirt to Daytona. Fantastic announcer. He was announcing with the SRX series quite a bit. I wish he would come back to announce some NASCAR races because he is fantastic. Alan Bestwick, I have him at number 5. Number 4, I've got a guy, obviously he doesn't do it anymore. His brother does it now. But Benny Parsons, I've got at number 4. Legendary in the booth, legendary racer, and one of the best in the booth that's done it. I believe he was Fox, if I'm not mistaken. He was a little bit before my time. I think he was in the Fox booth, but you can still hear his calls and all of that. I think he might have been on the call with Dale's 500 win with Mike Joy, if I'm not mistaken. So, but again, one of the great legendary voices in the sport, Benny Parsons. Number 3, he's in the NASCAR Hall of Fame, dad of another Hall of Famer. I've got Ned Jarrett as my number 3. And you kind of see this. A lot of these guys are, well, 2 of them. 2 of them are former racers, and they're
3 matches so far.
Yeah, well, two of them former racers, and I think that's a testament to these TV people pointing out some of these drivers that will be good in the booth, and I think they're going back to that now with Kevin Harvick getting back in the booth. And I love when they do the drivers only stuff. I think it's for the Xfinity race in Charlotte, if I'm not mistaken. And I love when they do that. That always makes it interesting. You get that perspective from the drivers because they know what's going on with these cars. So Ned Jarrett's my number 3. My number 2, he's still currently an announcer in NASCAR. And you can't deny how long he's done it, for how many historical races he's called. So, sometimes you kind of get annoyed with him. You could say what you want, but you can't deny that he is one of the best. Mike Joy's my number 2. I still like listening to him. It got annoying a little bit towards the end of like DW's career when they kind of bounce off each other. I'm like, all right, y'all can just like hush now. But it's actually improved now, and it really improved last year going into this year now with Harvick and Clint Boyer in the booth. So Mike Joy's my number 2. And number 1, I know this is going to be your number 1 too. This is literally the voice of a whole generation, and I loved when they did a throwback. I think it was about 2016, 2017, and they had him calling the Southern 500 as a big throwback. Ken Squire is my number 1. He literally will tell a story during the race. That's how he approaches announcing these races, and he has a radio voice, and he was on TV for those broadcasts, so it was fantastic. And yeah, Ken Squire's my number 1, and I can almost guarantee that's your number 1. So go ahead and get into your number 5 announcers.
All right. This was tough to rank these guys. You could literally almost plug these things in anywhere. But at number 5, this guy probably has one of the most iconic voices. He could be doing a commercial for laundry detergent. You turn around and think there was a race on as soon as you hear him. He's been in movies. He is the founder of the National Speed Sport newspaper and editor. He's done NASCAR. He's done IndyCar. He's done them all. Chris Economaki.
Oh, okay. Oh, wow.
His iconic voice is gone. Yeah. So I said, this is hard to rank these.
Yeah.
The next 4, we have them just in different orders. At number 4, Hall of Fame driver. One of the best races I've ever seen him call was the Dale and Dale Show in 1993.
Yep.
Cheering on his son to victory lane, where everybody else just stopped talking and just let him cheer on his son and do it in such a professional manner that, yeah, he was cheering his son, but it's like he almost wasn't playing favorites, which was pretty cool. So Ned Jarrett, I got at number 4. At number 3, another former driver. I actually have met him before. He was with a guest speaker at one of the York County Racing Club banquets, and I mean, storyteller to no end. It was just hearing him when he first started running Daytona and everything was really, really interesting. I had Benny Parsons. I forget what race it was. It was Harry Gant was running, and Benny Parsons said, "There's no way Harry Gant's going to win this race." He got into a crash or something. And Harry Gant came back and won the race. The next week, they had a cake for Benny Parsons, so he could eat his own words. It had, Harry Gant was not going to win this week. So number 2, yeah, this guy doesn't probably get the credit he deserves. He's been in my favorite video game, Dirt to Daytona. He's in that one. He's done the SRX. Just one of those great iconic voices, very calm, just entertaining the whole time, is Alan Beswick.
Yep.
And then number 1, like you said, this guy's announced everything. He used to be Thursday Night Thunder doing the sprint cars. He's done NASCAR. He's done everything in motorsports. He's done, and to be an entertainer and the announcer like he was, and have the insight and the stories and then all the facts that he had, was unreal. He's definitely going to be missed. Ken Squire.
Yeah, and like I said, to have that throwback when they did the Southern 500 at Darlington, that was absolutely incredible. He still had it. Now, he still got it. I mean, and it was weird because you don't hear that type of announcing anymore. You don't hear a story tell. And the number 9 car is turning into 1, getting a little bit loose right there, going off, fighting with the number 5 car. Like, talking like that is a fantastic way.
More like what, like you had Steve Post on, it's more of that.
Yes, like I said, it's a radio broadcast, but he was on TV, so it was fantastic. Yes, so.
Sometimes I wonder if the announcers are actually really watching what's going on at times. It's like. It's like, are you looking at the race? Are you watching your monitors? It seems like they don't have an idea what's happening at some point.
And like I said, that's the top 5 NASCAR announcers, and I think for the most part, it's going to be motorsports announcers. There's some local ones that we'd probably put ahead of some people, of course. But yeah, it's hard. I'm actually surprised you didn't throw Mike Joy in there. Just how long he's done it.
Where would you put him over the other 5?
Yeah, I mean that's true. I mean, the reason I have Alan Bestwick yeah, like I said, the only reason I had Alan Bestwick so low is because he didn't do it as long as a lot of these guys, and I wish again they would bring him back. I think he only did it when it was on ESPN and ABC when NASCAR shifted over to that. I think they even raced on CBS at some point.
But it's weird hearing like NASCAR announcers doing football or something else. It just did not seem right.
Yeah. Well, all right. Well, that will do our top 5. We'll make another top 5 and we'll probably bounce around some ideas before we go live. So if you guys want to drop in the comments before we do go live on Sunday, make sure you mark that. I'll create that broadcast so you guys can make sure you save that link. But drop in what top 5 do you want to see? What 5 lists would really interest you, and how we might rank them. I think it's a fun little segment. I think it brings a lot of debate and a lot of conversation. So it's a lot of fun right there. All right, so previewing Daytona for the Trucks and Xfinity races. You got a whole new slate of truck drivers and Xfinity. You got some familiar faces, and obviously some guys that went from Cup back down to Xfinity, AJ Allmendinger specifically. Drivers trying to make names for themselves. Some going back into the truck series and trying to make a name to build upon. And it's not guaranteed that if you go for the trucks, you don't have to go to Xfinity. There's a lot of people that jump from trucks to Cup now. They say that transitioning from trucks to the Cup series is actually a better transition with these current generation cars than Xfinity up to Cup.
Yeah, I mean, they say they can jump right. Carson Hocevar was a great example.
Yep.
Hop right into a Cup car and look like a seasoned veteran. So, yeah, maybe there is something to that.
Yeah, and again, we don't know a whole lot about the truck drivers and Xfinity drivers, no more about Xfinity than we do with trucks, so we're not going to pretend that we do know everything about them. We try to follow as much as we can. Truck series notorious for lots of cautions and wrecks, and I fully expect that to be happening at Daytona. The weather, though, might catch the Xfinity series, and they might end up having to race before the Daytona 500. They've done that before, race in the morning, so they might race while we're doing our live show. Very much possible.
I hope they do not do that. Just if they want to get that Daytona 500, and they're going to need to sacrifice the Xfinity race and put that on Monday or after the Daytona 500. This weather depends on when it gets here. Now it's saying it looks like it's coming in on Saturday and may get out of here on Sunday. But they need to not screw around.
More unpredictability than Florida weather is Daytona weather, because that's on the Florida coast. So there's nothing more unpredictable than that. Things will change. It'll be different tomorrow. It'll be different once people start watching after we're recording. It's just you just don't know. And they're going to have the pageantry still for the Daytona 500. So, yeah, they would probably move it to after so they can still have all the pre-race, all of the concerts, all of the driver meet and greets, whatever they got to do, because it is a sold-out race. And I think there's 160 to 200,000 people expected. I don't know how many the stands hold now. They upgraded the stands, so...
Yeah, the stands hold a lot, and the infield holds a
lot.
It holds a ton.
Not as much as Indy, but yeah.
Yeah, I'm sure there's going to be a couple 100,000 there. So hopefully they do what they can to get that race in.
It's not going to rain out.
It'd be cool seeing the Cup race.
It's not going to rain out because I'm not going. It's just how it is. If I win, oh yeah, we'd have a torrential downpour. Hey, whoa, it's snowing in Daytona. I don't know if that's happened. Also, we're not going to preview it because we really don't know anything about it, but we're definitely going to follow along because one of our guests, of course, is racing full-time in the series. ARCA race is right before the Xfinity race on Saturday, so that'll probably get rained out too, so it'll be interesting to see how they move that. And, well, Daytona has lights, so that's a positive thing. So if it rains, it can downpour to start off, and then if they can get it in, start it off at 8 o'clock or something at night, they'll be able to do that. And those new jet dryers and the Air Titans, they're pretty good.
There's one invention that NASCAR has really improved NASCAR is those Air Titans.
Yeah.
They can get that track dry just a matter of a couple hours, and where it used to take 6-7 hours.
Yep.
That's a remarkable invention they have.
All right, well, let's go into the truck race. We kind of already know what we're going to expect with that. Lots of cautions. Who can survive it? It's 250 miles, so half the length of the Daytona 500. That's North Carolina math for you. And so 100 laps seems like a lot for the truck series, but it does help they break it down in the stages now, so doesn't seem as crazy. I think you'll see the third stage just end up being a crash fest throughout. I think it'll be fairly clean for the first two stages. A lot of drivers, a lot of familiar faces too, and as we're talking, Matty D does not have a ride for it, unfortunately, but let's dive into it. Any insights before we give our picks?
Yeah, I mean, this is going to be kind of a crapshoot, and there's some interesting entries in this. Like we don't follow it a whole lot. I didn't realize some of these guys have changed teams. You still have the staples like Grant Enfinger's going to be one to watch this year. Corey Heim. I think you might see the Grays gradually get a little better. I think they had Tanner and let's see, we got Taylor.
Yeah.
I think they picked up. Ty Dillon's racing in this one. Is there anything else? But then you still got the guy, Ben Rhodes, Ty Majeski.
Yeah, Raja Caruth racing in it as well.
He's in the 71 car.
Yep.
Truck for Spire Motors.
Yep. So definitely be interesting for sure. See what we can get out of the truck series. So yeah, so go ahead, and who are you going with for your pick for the truck race on Friday night?
So this one is kind of maybe off the wall a little bit, but I saw he had entry. He's in the number 7 truck for Spire Motorsports, a Cup driver in the number 7 car. Corey LaJoie, he's a great restrictor plate racer. I think if he won the truck race, you would see excitement like you could not freaking believe.
He'd be a little excited.
That would be awesome. I think the fans would love it, and I think that would be a great boost for the truck series, having Corey LaJoie come out and win that race.
It really would. Yeah, that's a good pick, and he's not a bad speedway racer either. And he'll be up there mixing it up on Sunday as well.
And it's a good truck, it's Spire Motorsports.
Yeah.
So they're one of the top teams.
I'm going with one you actually mentioned that he is racing full time in the truck series this year. Hopefully get his reputation back a little bit and get some solid finishes and maybe get back to the mountaintop of the motorsports world to get back into the Cup Series and join his brother. I'm going with Ty Dillon for the Daytona Friday night truck race.
Yeah, he's another one that's actually a pretty good restrictor plate racer.
Yes, and again, it's anybody's race for, especially these two.
How the crashes, see what happens at the end, so.
And I always love Daytona nighttime, so the truck series that'll be exciting to kick off the weekend for that. Going into Saturday, if we can get it in, hopefully Mother Nature will cooperate. The Xfinity Series, a little bit longer of a race, a 300-mile race to start off the year. Anything piquing your interest seeing that entry list for the Xfinity race at Daytona?
Yeah, just the fact that you got AJ Allmendinger back at Xfinity, which I feel bad. I think he kind of got a screw in.
Yeah.
But him being the ultimate professional, took it as a positive. Hey, I want to go out and win this Xfinity championship.
I'm just curious why they did that. I don't know if it's a cost thing that they wanted to do, or
it's got to be money.
Yeah, because he won a race and last year in the Cup Series, won the Roval. So, and he's better than a lot of these Cup drivers, and you could put him in, and he'd be able to potentially compete for a playoff spot in the Cup Series.
Yeah, the one that kind of stood out is Jesse Love for Richard Childress Racing. that came. He was the top ARCA guy.
Yes, that'll be interesting how he does.
Yeah, which I think in ARCA he was a Toyota. So
yeah, he raced the Joe Gibbs car.
Okay, so there's a Toyota driver that you may have snagged from out of Toyota again, like they did with William Byron. But
yeah, then you got Sheldon Creed going right into the Toyota bunch after leaving RCR. And by no means am I like a big Toyota fan or anything, or Joe Gibbs or on all that. Eagles fan here, so obviously we don't like Joe Gibbs. Just sorry about it. But I'm rooting for that guy after the way last year ended. We have that rant that we went on, and I think a lot of people agreed with us on it because I think we don't need to get into it again, but I'm really rooting for that guy. I hope he at least gets a win, gets his first career win. I'm looking for him to have a good year.
Yeah, I think so. I think he's in a better car, so I think he actually made out. The other interesting fact is Frankie Muniz, which that's funny. They got this wrong. They say he's in a Chevrolet sponsored by Ford Performance. So I don't think that's correct.
Yeah, he's in a Ford. I know he's in the Ford.
He's a former. You want to call him a child actor? Agent Cody Banks. I mean, that's Frankie Muniz. Same.
Malcolm in the middle. Malcolm in the middle. Yep. When I was there at Charlotte when the ARCA series were racing last year, he walked past me at some point or whatever. Not a very tall guy, so he fits right in with the crowd. So that'll be interesting to see how he does. I think he actually did pretty well on the Speedway races last year. So see how he again. It's all about can you get through. You got like Natalie Decker racing too. So I mean you've got. Tons. Yeah, Haley Deegan's full time this year, so that was all about trying to get some sales for T-shirts and stuff. I'm sure, but hopefully she actually looked better in Xfinity than she did in the Truck Series when she was racing a couple in Xfinity. So see how she does. Yeah, I mean I think that does it for my insight. I don't know if you got anything else, but if not, let's get into our picks.
Yeah, I mean, you got the normal players. You got Junior Motorsports.
Yeah, all of them.
Versus Joe Gibbs Racing, and then maybe throw in Tony Stewart's Ford camp.
Yeah, look at Cole Custer. Yep.
Yeah, but yeah, actually for my pick, it's hard to go against him. The defending champion, former Cup driver. I got to go with Cole Custer on this one. He was very fast in all the restricted plate races last year.
He's very fast everywhere. It didn't matter. He'll be back in the Cup Series again. All right. Well, I got kind of a dark horse. Pretty decent speedway racer, as long as he can stay out of trouble, and that's with anybody. Kind of out of left field as well, but I'm going with Jeb Burton for my Xfinity Series pick. And I think that'd be a pretty popular win too. And maybe you'll see Ward Burton go in and have a speech you can't understand in victory lane with him. But yeah, so that does it for the preview and those two races. Make sure you guys tune in live at 10 o'clock. We will be previewing the Daytona 500. It's our normal live show that we'll be doing. It's just sit back, drink a few beers, talk about racing, give some picks. And, make sure you guys let us know what top 5 you want us to get into. And maybe we'll do some stuff at the live show as well. Some top 5s or something. I'll probably bring some trivia questions because that's a fun thing. So, trivia time. You got something?
And just so you're aware, it is race day, so it's perfectly acceptable to drink a beer at 10 o'clock in the morning.
It's 5 o'clock somewhere. And we're not going to be the earliest ones either. That's just, there's going to be more of that. So, my question for you this week, Dad. So there have been, this only happened twice in the history of the Daytona 500. Can you give the 2 rookies that have won the Daytona 500 of all time?
Austin
Cindric, 2021. I shouldn't have given you the date, but yep.
Yeah, wow. Is it one of the older drivers? No, it's relatively recent.
The youngest Daytona 500 champion.
Was it Trevor Bayne? Was he a rookie when he won that?
Trevor Bayne, yep. That was his first race and only win in the Cup Series.
Yeah,
so
that's pretty wild.
and he's actually going.
I think he was a rookie when he did
and he's got a shot this year to win it as well. I believe that he's entered for the Cup Series race. So we'll see. We'll see if he can make it first. Yep. Well, we'll see if he can make it because we've got the duels coming up this week. So pole qualifying for Daytona 500 on Wednesday, Thursday the duels, and then Friday get into the truck race. Saturday's Xfinity. Sunday is the Cup Series Daytona 500. So action-packed week of racing coming up. High Limit Series will be next week. So we'll try to hopefully get an episode out and preview the High Limit Series next week. They kind of throw us off guard when we do a midweek show like this. They kind of screw us over, and we're like, we just miss it. So yeah, make sure you guys tune in live on Sunday only on YouTube. So yeah, that'll be fun to not have a sober stream. And, previewing Daytona 500. Make sure you guys check out the Steve Post interview. That was a lot of fun. And I say interview, it was a conversation because, it was great.
That was an awesome episode.
Yeah, great to see a different perspective of people that are there at the track and see.
Especially some of the inside information he has on how certain things work. And, it was like we say certain things and he's like, well, TV-wise, it makes more sense this way. I'm like, I can see the point on that one.
Yeah, so that will be on the screen somewhere, wherever the screen is showing it on YouTube. It will appear for you. Make sure you hit that like, subscribe. If you're listening to this, I appreciate that. Share that anywhere you get your podcasts, Spotify, Apple Pod, all that fun stuff. And yeah, we will see you guys Sunday live. Make sure you tune in, and we will have the chat open too. So whatever you want to talk about, drop in the chat too. You can talk crap to us. That's fine. We're used to it. And let's have a good week of racing, get into the biggest race in motorsports as of now until we go in May. Then we'll tell the other one. But all right, till next week, we will see you then. See you, Dad.